for watching the English newscast here on Future Television. I'm Lina Tamim, and these are today's top stories. Lebanon's financial prosecutor charges CEO and chairman of MTV Lebanon, Michel Gabriel El-Mur, with embezzlement over the country's illegal internet scandal as Lebanon's military judiciary takes over the case. Prime Minister Tamam Slam will meet with French President François Hollande on the sidelines of the 71st session of the UN General Assembly in New York. And the air raids that hit an aid convoy near Aleppo kill around 20 people. The UN suspends all aid convoys to Syria in the wake of the attack. Lebanon's military judiciary has taken over the illegal internet networks case and will investigate the head of the state-run telecoms company as a suspect. Health Minister Wael Abu Faour's comments came after a parliamentary telecoms committee meeting with Minister Boutros Harib and committee head MP Hassan Fadlallah. The telecoms minister had announced the issue of unlicensed internet networks in March, which he said Israel was using to spy on the country. Investigations have so far detected illegal networks in Ayun al-Siman, the northern Daniya district, and the Barouk, Fa'ra and Zarur areas of Mount Lebanon. The Ojero CEO, who Abu Faour's Progressive Socialist Party and other groups have long called corrupt, has been accused of being involved in the case. Harib said a lot of progress has been made in the case and was adamant the file will not be closed before guilty individuals are brought to justice. And still on the issue, Lebanon's financial prosecutor has charged the CEO and chairman of MTV Lebanon, Michel Gabriel El-Mur, with embezzlement over the country's illegal internet scandal. Judge Ali Ibrahim charged Mur over the operation of the illegal Zarur internet network in the Mitten district's highlands, which was discovered and shut earlier this year. Mur, a former lawmaker and prominent businessman, gave his testimony to Judge Ibrahim last month regarding the file. The judicial source said the case has been referred to a judge in the Mitten, adding that he could face up to 3 years in prison if found guilty. Prime Minister Tamam Slam will meet with French President François Hollande on the sidelines of the 71st session of the UN General Assembly in New York. Salam has warned that Lebanon was in serious danger and faced the risk of collapse if the international committee does not act quickly to help it cope with the heavy influx of Syrian refugees, which is straining the country's struggling economy and infrastructure and threatening its stability. Addressing a UN summit on refugees and migrants, Salam called on the international community to set up a detailed roadmap to ensure the safe return of Syrian refugees in Lebanon to their homeland. He laid out a 5-point plan to ease Lebanon's burden of more than 1 million Syrian refugees, in addition to 500,000 Palestinian refugees. The air raids that hit an aid convoy near Aleppo killed around 20 people, including a Red Crescent staff member. The United Nations had suspended all aid convoys to Syria in the wake of the attack that the UN says could amount to a war crime. The United States said it was unclear if it was a Russian or Syrian plane that hit the aid convoy, but officials placed the blame on Moscow, a key ally of embattled Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Russia's defense ministry, however, denied any involvement. Air raids also rocked northern Syria's Aleppo province just hours after the attack.
Yesterday's attack is a flagrant violation of the international humanitarian law, and it is unacceptable. Failing to protect humanitarian workers and structures might have serious repercussions on ongoing humanitarian operation in the country, hence depriving millions of people from aid essential to their survival.
Second point I would like to say is that as an immediate security measure, other convoy movements in Syria have been suspended for the time being, pending further assessment of the security situation. However, we remain committed to stay and deliver to everybody in need in Syria. In this very, very dark day for humanitarians in Syria, and I'd say across the world, because I think there has been a moment of shock and frankly disgust by this by this attack. At this point, we remain committed and undeterred to continue to the best of our ability to help all Syrians in need.
The UN says more than 300,000 migrants have crossed the Mediterranean to Europe so far this year. That's coming up next. Welcome back. A Palestinian teenager tried to stab an Israeli soldier near the Flashpoint West Bank city of Hebron before being shot dead in what is the latest death in a flare-up of violence. The Palestinian Health Ministry identified the alleged assailant as Isa Taraira, 16, from Bani Naim. Today's incident was the 9th since Friday, coming after Palestinians wrapped up the Muslim celebration of Eid al-Adha and as Israel tightens security ahead of major Jewish holidays in October. The upsurge has shattered several weeks of relative calm. Jordan's Prime Minister cast his vote in the northern city of Irbid as the country goes to the polls to elect a new parliament. Jordan traditionally votes according to tribal and family allegiances, but Parliament amended the electoral laws in March to allow political parties to submit lists and to give voters 2 votes, one for a local candidate and the second for a list at national level. The change encouraged the political arm of the Muslim Brotherhood, the Islamic Action Front, to participate in the poll after boycotting it in 2010 and 2013. The Brotherhood wants sweeping political reforms but stops short of demanding the overthrow of the monarchy in Jordan. The IAF is running as part of the Reform List, a coalition that includes independent figures like Christians in an attempt to widen the repeal. U.S. President Barack Obama said the battle against the Islamic State militant group in Mosul would be challenging, but he was confident it would move forward rapidly. Speaking after he met with Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi, Obama also said he hoped for progress by the end of the year on Mosul, Iraq's second largest city, which fell to the Islamic State militant group in June of 2014.
What we have been discussing and what we're focusing on is to go right at the heart of the ISIL operations in Mosul. Now, this is going to be a challenging battle. Mosul is a large city, and ISIL has embedded itself deeply within that city. But because of the pre-positioning of forces, because of the cooperation between the coalition and the Iraqi security forces, because of the cooperation and courage of the Kurdish Peshmerga, we feel confident that we will be in a position to move forward fairly rapidly. Now, it will be a tough fight, and once it is initiated, one of the things that we discussed is the importance of not just driving ISIL out of Mosul, but making sure that the population there that invariably is going to be displaced and will have suffered and is going to be looking for warmth and food and water and shelter, that we are prepared to help provide rapid humanitarian assistance, and that we can rebuild the city in a way that assures not only ISIL does not come back, but extremist ideologies born out of desperation do not return. But this is going to be hard. This is going to be challenging. It will require resources. We're going to be asking Congress to step up in support of this effort, and we're going to be asking other countries to step up in support of this effort.
I think Daesh is a huge threat.
Hopefully by the end of this year we will have seen further progress with respect to Mosul, and that we will continue to see further progress with respect to economic and political stabilization inside of Iraq. It is outstanding police work, outstanding law enforcement work. I, in particular, want to give a heartfelt thanks to the New Jersey police officers who were able to apprehend this individual.
The UN says more than 300,000 migrants have crossed the Mediterranean to Europe so far this year. far fewer than the 520,000 who arrived during the first 9 months of 2015. Italian Foreign Minister Paolo Gentiloni has called for the international community to work on the root causes of the migration crisis by tackling issues in the countries from which people are fleeing.
For years, Italy has faced the migration crisis in the Mediterranean, and we have done it thanks to the commitment and the generosity of the women and men of Lampedusa, of the Italian Coast Guard, and of the thousands of volunteers who devoted their time to help migrants and refugees after their perilous journeys across the Mediterranean. To all those people here in front of you, I would like to extend my gratitude. To resolve an emergency or a crisis, Italy has promoted, also through our proposal of a migration compact to our EU partners, a plan to develop a true partnership with African countries of origin. We have to invest in Africa to tackle the root causes of migration, primarily economic and demographic inequalities. But most of all, we should invest in Africa because it means we are investing in our own future. But we are working for durable solutions for a situation that will affect. We all know that this kind of commitment will produce results only in the long term. Meanwhile, we have to give a humanitarian answer. We have to save lives. On this, I am asking for solidarity. I am asking for the full commitment of the whole international community. Italy has been at the forefront of the migration crisis in the Mediterranean for years, with its search and rescue operations. More than 75,000 people were saved last year, and more than 60,000 so far this year by Italian units. These are impressive numbers, but even more impressive and even more moving are the tales of pain and suffering behind those numbers.
The United Nations has called for restraint after at least 17 people died in clashes between security forces and protesters in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Opposition leaders had called on their supporters to take to the streets and protest amid mounting concerns that President Joseph Kabila plans to delay an election and hold on to power.
We're deeply worried at the latest round of violence in the DRC. Violent clashes between demonstrators and police forces took place yesterday in the capital, Kinshasa. According to government figures, 17 people, including 3 police officers, were killed and an unknown number of people were injured. Other sources report much higher figures, which are still being verified. And close to 200 people are believed to have been arrested. Violence continued last night, and the headquarters of 5 opposition political parties were attacked and set on fire. According to our team on the ground, at least 2 more people lost their lives and 3 others were injured during these events. We've received reports of excessive use of force by some elements of the security forces, as well as reports that some demonstrators resorted to violence yesterday. We call on all sides to show restraint, and we urge the authorities to ensure that existing national and international standards on the appropriate use of force are fully respected by all security personnel. We call for a credible and impartial investigation to bring those responsible for human rights violations and criminal acts to justice, and we stand ready to support such an inquiry.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. Lebanon's financial prosecutor charges CEO and chairman of MTV Lebanon, Michel Gabriel Mour, with embezzlement over the country's illegal internet scandal as Lebanon's military judiciary takes over the case. Prime Minister Tamam Slam will meet with French President François Hollande on the sidelines of the 71st session of the UN General Assembly in New York. And the air raids that hit an aid convoy near Aleppo kill around 20 people. The UN suspends all aid convoys to Syria in the wake of the attack. Those are your top stories for this Tuesday. I'm Linda Tamim, and I thank you all for watching.